Dear students, this is the second video of the circulatory system in which you'll learn about the path of the blood, and then you'll also learn about the types of the circulations. Now let's learn about the circulation of the blood through the heart. First of all, what happens? This right atria, it receives the deoxygenated blood from all the tissues of the body. Once the blood leaves the tissues of the body, it carries with it the blood with higher concentration of the carbon dioxide and the lower concentration of oxygen. So it is a deoxygenated, it is the deoxygenated blood that is received by this right atria. Once it relaxes, it receives the deoxygenated blood. Then by means of two big blood vessels called the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. The superior vena cava, it will get the blood from the upper parts of the body into the right, deoxygenated blood into the right atria, and then inferior vena cava, here it will get the deoxygenated blood. Inferior vena cava, it will get the deoxygenated blood from the lower parts of the body and it will put it into the right atria. So these are the two big blood vessels which get the deoxygenated blood and put it into the right atria. Then once it contracts, the tricuspid valve, it opens and the blood rushes into the right ventricle. Once the blood rushes into the right ventricle, this right ventricle, it also contracts. Once this ventricle contracts, it will push the blood through the pulmonary trunk, and this tricuspid valve, at that time it will get closed. And here you will find the semilunar valve, pulmonary semilunar valve, that will open and the blood will be released from the right ventricle. It will be pushed from the right ventricle towards the lungs for the oxygenation through the pulmonary trunk, or which is also called as the pulmonary artery. And then after that, the semilunar valve here, that will get closed and that will not let the blood to move backwards towards the right ventricle. Once the blood starts flowing towards the lungs for the oxygenation, here inside the lungs, as the exchange of the gases takes place, the blood will get oxygenated. Once the blood gets oxygenated, now the oxygenated blood is pushed from the lungs through the pulmonary vein, and that pulmonary vein, it will directly carry the oxygenated blood into the left atria. And here now the left atria, it will receive the oxygenated blood and it will get contracted. Once it contracts, the bicuspid valve or the mitral valve, it opens and the blood is pushed down into the left ventricle. Once the blood is pushed down into the left ventricle, it also contracts and the blood is pushed through the artery called the aorta, which is the biggest artery called the aorta, from this left ventricle. Here that aorta, it will have at its base, it will have a semilunar valve, aortic semilunar valve, that will get closed and that will not let the blood to move backwards into the left ventricle. And then that aorta, it will carry the oxygenated blood, and that then after that it will get branched into the arteries, then capillaries, and those capillaries, they will carry the blood, oxygenated blood, to all the tissues of the body, and that blood will supply the nutrients, it will supply the oxygen to the tissues for the process of respiration. And from there, the veins will once again get the deoxygenated blood, which is higher in carbon dioxide concentration, and once again through inferior vena cava and superior vena cava, the deoxygenated blood will be put once again into the right auricle. So it was about the circulation. Now, these heart muscles or the cardiac muscles, they also need the nutrients, they also need the waste products to be removed from the heart muscles. So for that, there is another type of the circulation called the coronary circulation. This coronary circulation, here, once the aorta, it supplies the oxygenated blood to the body tissues, that from that aorta, the two branches called the coronary arteries, those two branches, they supply the blood into the heart muscles of the cardiac muscles to provide the nutritions nutritious molecules to the heart and get the waste products out of the heart. So it is through the coronary circulation that heart muscles or the cardiac muscles, they get nutrition and they get the waste products removed from the heart. Now, there is something called the double circulation. The heart, I have already told you that it is a single organ, but it functions as two different pumps, because this is the right side of the heart. This right side of the heart, it supplies it pumps the deoxygenated blood to the lungs, and this side of the heart, this is the left side of the heart, it pumps the oxygenated blood to all the tissues of the body. So that's why it's called as the double circulation. Same blood flows through the heart two times. Same blood flows through the heart two times. Once it flows through the heart as deoxygenated blood, and then second time it flows through the heart as the oxygenated blood. And these two circulations, they are called the first one is called the pulmonary circulation, and another one is called the systemic circulation. Through this pulmonary circulation, the heart pushes the deoxygenated blood from this right ventricle towards the lungs for the oxygenation. Once the oxygenation of the blood takes place in the lungs, then the lungs, it is through the pulmonary vein that the oxygenated blood will be carried from the lungs towards the left atria, and from the left atria the blood will be pushed, oxygenated blood will be pushed to left ventricle, and from this left ventricle the oxygenated blood will be pumped through the aorta to all the tissues of the body. And that type of the circulation in which the oxygenated blood is supplied to all the tissues of the body, that is called systemic circulation. And since these are the two types of the circulation, so it is also called as the double circulation. So it was all about the circulation. Now in my next lecture I will teach about the cardiac cycle and also about the conduction system, the impulse, how the electrical impulse gets conducted in the heart and how the heartbeat initiates. Thanks for watching.